Welcome today to Rosendo of Resilio Solutions, a partner of Free ICT Europe. For instance, because you take a seat in the ICT standardization forum, the MSP, and as well we will meet each other soon when we join a panel discussion. So Resilio, you work on the intersection, it's called between the digital technology and sustainability, where you especially work on the goal that people make more environmental better decisions on their IT, so reduce the environmental impact. So that's also important for the secondary market, that we can provide trustworthy data and therefore the insights to the user side. You're active across Europe. We see you at different conferences. And yeah, the main message is that you want to turn sustainability from just a high-level ambition to a real operational reality. Your database platform is one of the outputs, and for today we'll have a look on that, we'll explore that, see what is needed, and and how your approach brings concrete value to ITADs, refurbishers, and third-party maintenance providers. So thank you very much to join us today, Rosendo.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
To give this a high-level start, what issues in digital sustainability are you trying to solve as Resilio?
Yeah, so very good question. I think our goal has always been from the beginning to really be able to give this information to others, really be able to enable decision makers to integrate sustainability as easy as possible. We don't want to make it a burden for others, but it really is an opportunity for businesses to be more efficient, more resilient, reduce their costs, and it's through these carbon assessments, sustainability assessments, that we can do so. The problem is that today, to get this information, this value, these numbers, it's sometimes a bit hard. You need some background and expertise to understand these figures, and that's what we want to break. Our goal really is to facilitate that learning and that understanding of that information.
Well, yeah, not everybody's keen to work with numbers, but glad you do it. I know you're already working with some companies in the secondary market, and maybe you can share with us some use cases and maybe some core elements of what you have accomplished.
Very happy to. So we've been working now for the last months and years as well with companies such as Evernex, Involved, Epoca, Olin. And I think they all have a lot of things in common, but one of them which stands the most is that they want to show their clients the work they're doing on circularity as a positive lever for them. I mean, I think all the work we do in the secondary markets is of great value for everyone, especially for business, as at the end for them is another way to actually get more value from those resources. And specifically with these companies, what we do is that we'll provide them with the specific data that they will need in order to show their clients the avoided emissions of the services. So if thanks to their ITAD, the company manages to save this amount of money to recycle, refurbish an amount of servers, then we translate that into kilograms of CO2 which are avoided, water, etc. That's the main goal of what we do with these companies.
Well, but before we go more to the data, let's first, you as a company, we see you active with both end users and service providers, but also public bodies and some large organizations that you're working with and that are seeing your value. Can you share some of them? What you do?
Yeah, happy to. It is a big part of the job of the things we do, even if we're not paid for that in some parts. But we really want to actually have a mission and have an impact on our society. That's why we created this project. Some of the work we've been doing with public organizations has been collaborations with the European Commission on the carbon emissions of devices, with regulators such as the ADEME ARCEP in France on the impact of the ICT sector. We've worked closely with the ITU in Geneva on these questions as well. We work now again with them and other bodies on the impact of clouds, on the contributions of AI. Our goal really is to provide the resources that we have to everyone, make it as public as we can in a way. So that is a lot of the work that we do, really make these studies so that everyone can benefit from them and that we can all learn from the importance of circularity and of understanding the resilience of the value chain of the ICT sector as Europe and also globally.
Well, so it's clear you're mentioning a number of things that you're doing. Can you maybe break your service in the chunks that are besides the platform that we're going
Yeah.
to I'll mention research and so what are the different pillars of your company?
Totally. So I think we have three main pillars. So the first one is going to be tech, the platforms. So we develop SaaS products, SaaS platforms, which can be our database, our lifecycle assessment tool for our clients, which allow them to assess by themselves the impact of anything. They want to know the carbon emissions of a SaaS, of I don't know, manufacturing a server, whatsoever. They can do that with our platform. Same thing with our database. Then we have the service part. That's where we sell consulting services and do some trainings for our clients. And lastly, we have a lot of work on research. So we have a team internally who does projects with large grants and open source projects, basically trying to better understand what are the environmental impacts of all the ICT sector. So currently right now, for instance, we're studying what are the carbon emissions of silicon wafers, processors, chips, and so on. And it's all through these different parts, maybe, or pillars that we manage at the end to actually, they manage to nourish each other, to be able to then provide to each of the different clients that we have the best possible outcomes of what we know and we've learned from industry. So the tech team benefits from consultants who do this work every day and the expertise of the lab team, and so does the services and lab team as well from the other two teams. So really complementary in all of that.
So in between the lines, I that you say, I hear like it's not easy to get the data. There's not enough research done on detailed level to have, let's say validated data on footprint of the different components, etc. So what are your views on maybe the limitations of the footprints that are shared by manufacturers?
Yeah, totally. I think it's very interesting because we all have this problem, which is that when large corporates they need to reduce their emissions, and so they rely on their providers. Some of them are manufacturers, OEMs, and they have hundreds of them or thousands of them, and when you go and see these OEM teams, usually there's the CSR ESG teams are maybe 3-5 people-ish in large companies, so they need to do all the work internally. So they don't have enough resources for them. And then we expect from them to coordinate themselves with their competitors in the industry to provide data which is coherent, consistent, and can be aggregated along the sector. So that's a task which is really hard, which as you can imagine, it really doesn't happen. It's not, it would be otherwise it would be super easy for everyone. And so what we end up is that we have different sources of data which are used by different actors, which really sometimes don't make sense. So for the impact of the same device from two manufacturers, you would have 100% difference, so like times 2, times 3, which can't really be explained.
That's not even apples and pears are still maybe then more in the same field than those are. Yeah.
And if you're like a buyer, you're buying IT stuff from your OEM or refurbished ITAD partner, and you want to compare two devices, and they tell you the carbon emissions of one device is 5 and the other one is 10. Actually, you can't really trust that data because behind the number of assumptions are so large that really maybe it's the opposite, and maybe the right server or equipment would be the other one. No, and that's the problem that we have, that we see that people struggle with. And that's why one of our products is around Resilio database, which is a database that tries to harmonize all these different data calculations. So instead of relying on the different values from the different providers, we ourselves make ourselves all the calculations. So we guarantee basically that anything can be compared, and that if it says 10 and the other one is 5, well, there's a reason behind it. It can be explained. Now it's not two data behind which was different. It's coherent, which is very important when making decisions.
Okay, so well, that's clearly sets your data apart from what we can gather through the normal public sources. Well, maybe a good step to have a peek view on what you present in your platform and database,
Yeah,
and how that can make get support to make better decisions.
happy to. I'll just share my screen. You should be able to see it by now. So how does it work? Very simple. You go into db.utility.tech and you just go find, search anything really in the IT, from a server to clouds to anything else. You then select a country or region. Let's select now the European continents, and you basically get the emissions of that specific device, of that del power h in terms of tons of CO2. And what's important here is that in any calculation, for any data point, we provide all the information that details basically how that assessment was done, what background data we use, so that anyone can actually verify this data, compare it, and make sure that it makes sense. So here are all the assumptions behind our data. And if I go a bit beyond that, in the My Models view, which is this our premium view in a way, as a search bar is free for everyone. Not only you can see the impact of the device. Here I chose another rack server, but you can actually look down at the breakdown of impacts by components. Why is this very important? Because so when you see here, I'm going to go on only the manufacturing view. So I'm going to select another depth. I'll go through it quickly.
Yeah.
So here you have the impact of your device. That was a rack server. And you can then see basically the underlying impacts behind that. So you know that behind you will have your graphic cards, your chassis, your CPU, your power supply. And this breakdown of impacts here in terms of CO2 as well, but actually you have the same view for other indicators, such as in terms of resources and so on. And you can see that the lines of the Sankey change, because depending basically on what indicator you're looking at, the impact is not the same one. You can then understand basically layer by layer, what are the real emissions behind your specific equipments. And if I really go down to the latest depths, or 3, 4, you can here see basically all the emissions of the underlying materials. So in terms of gold, palladium, nickel, silver. So it's also a tool for companies to also know in a way and estimate the amount of resources that are behind their infrastructure. And in a context where, at least in Europe, well, we don't have these resources. I mean, we rely on other countries to extract them. It's actually important and interesting to know at what point you're dependent on your supply chain and on materials which are critical, or which rely basically on other factors that you can't control directly within your own supply chain. So yeah, this is a small look of this database. What's important here is that everything is detailed, everything is sourced. Any data point can be audited. I just copied here the hash of a specific factor that I can then just search again and find it again. And that's our verified traceability of all the elements in my database. And this is it's thanks to this database that our clients, and for now I think it has more than 1,300 references, can actually find the impact of anything in the ICT sector. Use this data, compare it, and not only actually equipment's components, but also electricity consumption. There's many things going on that we've been developing. And yeah, that is our way of getting smart data to make smart decisions, if I may say it like this.
Yeah, so it's so you said, there's more info that people need and want and need to incorporate into reporting, especially by end customers. So if I am in the secondary market, how can I integrate this platform in my operation? How does that work?
Yeah, so very simply, let's start again from the beginning. So you'll go to db.resilio.tech, and you can actually directly integrate it via API. That would be the fairly easiest way of actually doing that. So you can directly find the carbon emissions of all those devices through an API. So you would just directly go here, go into, I don't know, if you're providing servers to your clients, go to the specific documentation related to that specific device. No, here, I don't know, let's go for a rack server here. And you basically see what is the information that you need to query the API. So just basically we need information which is very simple. The name of the model, the country where it's used, and actually if you have additional information on the components of that specific device, you can also add them. And so we'll actually tune the factors so that it matches specifically what you have. Once you provide that information, we'll then provide you with the carbon emissions and all the emissions of that specific device. And then that information can be integrated into your own reporting tools, so you have it manually, to then provide to your clients the information related to how much carbon they actually manage to avoid and save for their clients.
So to take a last point, what is concrete the value what you bring to the refurbishers, ITAD, and the third-party maintainers? Why should they reach out to you? Because you have a value proposition that they should pick up and talk to you guys.
Yeah, I think what we bring to the table is consistency, robustness, and trust. I mean, in a way, we are Swiss and we stand by these values as well. We
It's a
believe
nice
that.
card to play.
Yeah. I mean, we try to. I mean, Swiss quality. We promote this. We think that we're actually following this as much as we can. I mean, at least for what we see from our clients is that. I mean, they know that once they use our data, they don't have to worry about this. They know that it makes sense, it's robust, everything it's transparent. They know that they can confidently provide the information to their clients without worrying about, hey, I'll get an email saying where does this data come from? I mean, you don't have to worry about that. No, you will have that level of certainty of knowing that behind you have a group of experts working off this. Our data is actually being used by regulators directly. So it's this trust, transparency, and robustness that we bring to our clients that is really appreciated for them. And in the long run, as you've seen, we can actually map the impact of like one device to a number, like to metals and minerals. We plan on actually integrating more supply chain data related to risk, which I think is going to be also very interesting for ITADs to show they basically also to their clients how by actually working with a provider, they can maintain these assets and these components, which are becoming more and more expensive within their own supply chains and ecosystems. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I hope people enjoyed the information you provided, and we'll speak soon. Thank you so much, Rosendo.
Thank you, Jan.
Let me now stop this.